Hello, we are Group 58, and this is our Engineering 6 final group project.
So our group actually decided to go with the Dice project, specifically the game called Cee-Lo. Hi, my name is Rolando Montes. I worked on the main GUI and the transition from window to window. In this main window is going to ask for the number of players. Here we're going to put two. This main window also consists of the next button, the how to play button that shows you the rules, and the quit button. Here we're going to press next. It's now going to bring you to this next window, which is going to ask you to input the information and the names of the players that didn't play. So there's our first player. And because we put two players, we're going to ask for the second player. And now we're going to start the game from here. Once we press start, it's going to bring you to the main game window. Here, Rolando's now made the banker, and he's going to put in a bet. Here, we're going to put in a bet of 10. And because it's 10, the main chip in the middle is going to be red. You're going to find that's a bet of less than 10. Here, we're going to roll. This first roll, Rolando's a dead roll because there's no two die that are matching. And Rolando will roll until there's a two match a number. Like in this case, 3 is the next number, so that's the number that we're going to take into consideration. Now Keelan's going to do the same. And he loses because he gets an instant loss combination. Now we're going to go on to the next round. Now Keelan's the banker, and it's going to be the same process all over again. Well, now we're going to put in a bet of 30. See how the chip changes. Now Keelan's going to roll. Now it's an instant loss. Now it's Rolando's turn. Dead roll. And now we win. And because Rolando has won the majority of the rounds in this game, once you press next round, it will bring you to the end game window and see Rolando wins. That's our game.
Woohoo! Yeah, pretty awesome. Pretty awesome. There we go. Hi, I'm Ivan. I worked on the main code and refinement and stuff like that. So here's the main game. So I basically worked on just like the main functions of like the roll button and the next round button, which are the main like game flow logic. At the top of our program, we have different properties that hold important information and data. Players is a table created at the startup of the function, startup of the program. It's a table that holds each of the players' names, points, and role values, and they display it onto the UI table in the top right corner. And the number of players can vary based on the total. For our dice and our chips, we have arrays of the file names for each of the pictures. So this is like the dice 1, dice 2 with 2 dots and so on and so on. And then we have the image file location, which expresses the pathway to find those images. And basically we have functions for changing the left-hand side and changing the right-hand side. Basically, these functions are both the same, but they just change the dice images, values, and results displays for the left-hand side or the right-hand side. Given values, basically the roll values rolled from the die, they display the information, and sometimes we use it to reset the information. So we could put in values of 0, and it will reset everything. So it's meant to turn everything off. Or if there are actual values that we want to display, we basically change the image source for the dice and using the array. So numbers are associated with the array values and the dice values. So we could basically choose the file names and plus the pathway they use to change the image source. And that's how we change each of dice 1, dice 2, dice 3, which are associated to these 3 dice over here. And the same setup is the same for the chip images too. They're under the bet changing edit value. Basically, whenever the bet field changes, this right here, whenever the banker chooses to change it, as long as it's 0, it's turned on. You can't roll at all. once they do change, you're able to roll. Depending on the bed value that's inputted, it changes the image source to increasing value chips. So then there's also the next button function that keeps track of whose turn it is. Basically, how the game works is that it goes through each player, and once it reaches the banker again, it knows that it has reached each player and that the next banker should be transferred over to the next player. So by the end of the game, the entire game, every player should be able to become the banker and change their bet.
Right. Hi, I'm Kellen. I worked on the foundational basics of the code and like how the game's supposed to flow and how the game's supposed to look like it initially. And I was the one focusing on ThinkSpeak. As of right now, the ThinkSpeak multiplayer function isn't implemented. What we were trying to do was for player one, when they roll the dice, there's going to be a value, that value into a private ThinkSpeak channel in an array. Once it sends over there, we have a code that would detect that player one sent a data point there. And when it did happen, player two, who's on a different device, would be able to retrieve that data point and pull it into their game. And it would show on their screen that player one's data point will change and update. And that would function the same way for player two. They send in a data point after they rolled. Player two had got a score. Then player one would receive that score and it would display for player two what they got. Because we have a lot of data points, player names, and condition, we had a lot of issues trying to implementing it. And throughout the code, you can see that it was commented out, our ThinkSpeak function, but we did try implementing it.
Hello, I'm Malay, and I worked on the main GUI and sounds and the animations. For the GUI has gone through different iterations, and I will present that now. So this is the different iterations of the GUI. So since this is a game played at casinos, we wanted to bring a casino feeling into it. We ended up with this. This is the rule screen. Now, this is the final rule screen that we had. So the player can go to the rule screen from the start app and also from the main game app. Whenever they're confused, they can click on the rules, which is another function, which is another feature we added, so that we can include the rules in a brief and concise manner. This is the main app. Before deciding on any color scheme, we decided on the main layout and fiddled around with the color schemes. And at the end, this is what we have. So there are two ways in which we've implemented sound throughout this game. The first is using a function. So as you see, we've defined a function right here, which is play sound. That's the name of the function. Then we've included two variables, app and file name. There are two ways in which we've implemented the sound, where we have used this line, which is y, f of s. This is the speaker, and this is the sample rate. This audio read basically reads and it takes in the sound file that you have. Next, we use this line where it's sound of y, f of s. So it basically says played on speaker y and on this sample rate. Since there's no specific value, we're just playing on default values. We don't need any specific number to play it at. That's one way to play it. Another way which we used is to use the function right here, play sound. We include that name right here. We put an app, and this is the name of the sound file. So instead of file name here, it's a sound file. So as soon as this function how to play button, which is the how to play button right here, as soon as a player clicks this, the click sound will be played. It is a slightly better method than just this, which increases the number of files, makes the readability a bit harder. We can just instead we can just use one line here. Another example is in the end screen where we use two sounds back to back. So how do we do that? Since MATLAB reads from top to bottom, what we've basically done is we use the function method. We used app here, and we put win.back first. So this is played first, and then clapping is played second. And that is basically how we've implemented sound throughout the entire game. We've just, wherever there's a sound needed to be played, we've just put this here. And if you've noticed, we've put click.waf first. Generally, you want to put this first is because this function you see here is the quit button, right? So as soon as you click on it, the app is, you quit the app. So you don't want the sound playing after that because the application is already quit. So you want to play sound before that, and then you want to quit the application. So the full combination of the logic and the code, the animations, the different sounds played under different circumstances, how each app connects to each other creates a working game with no flaws that we are happy to present. So thank you.